something that came out yesterday, bipartisan. Yourself, I believe, Congressman Lee, my old congressman, and McMahon, correct. And talking about the BP and the Lockerbie bomber and that situation. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, when the Scottish government, I guess it's the Scottish government, was first talking about releasing al-Megrahi, who is the terrorist convicted. He's a convicted terrorist of masterminding the blow-up of Pan Am 103. He's the only, we know it was a group effort, but he's the only one that they've actually caught and brought to justice. Well, they were going to release him. They did release him, as it turns out, last year. And we wrote all sorts of protest letters, not just me, but it was all the members of Congress in the state, the senators. And we said, why are you releasing him? And the answer was, well, it's for humanitarian reasons. He has cancer and he has somewhere between 3 and 6 months to live. Well, 2 points. The first is, I don't care if he has cancer. Yes, we should be humane, but that doesn't mean you release him from jail. Certainly doesn't mean you let him out of Scotland. But no, they let him all the way back to Libya, where he was given a hero's welcome. 2, clearly he had more than 3 to 6 months to live because it's a year ago and he's still alive. And in fact, now one of the doctors says he might live for 10 years. So there's something wrong there. Now we come up with more information that British Petroleum was heavily lobbying for this prisoner's release because they believed it would help them get new oil deals in Libya, and in fact, they got those deals. So, you can put 2 and 2 together, and usually it adds up to 4. And so myself and Chris Lee and another member of Congress from downstate New York are going to try to start an effort all throughout the Congress to demand that the British government investigate this and any possibility that this release was more for just humanitarian reasons, but in fact because of some business deal. It's just not right.
What are some, aside from what we talked about right now, what are some of the other issues you're working on in Congress?
Well, we're doing a lot. Like I said, with businesses, there's a small business bill working through that we passed in the House, and I helped craft, that we think we're going to get past the Senate next week. It will have $30 billion in a fund that will go through small banks and credit unions to lend to small businesses to help spur that. It'll have and this I think is very important, it'll have a 0 capital gains tax rate, something we did last year and it worked well, but we let it expire and we need to now bring it back. A 0% capital gains tax rate for small business, any sort of investing in small business. Somebody came up to me at a Barnes & Noble the other day and said, I have a small business with my brother. I'd love to invest in it, but I just don't have a lot of incentives to do so. This will give them that incentive. Any capital gains they get back from that investment, no taxes on that. So that's very important in that package of stuff. I'm really continuing my work on tax reform. There are a lot of these tax breaks that basically subsidize companies for creating jobs and making investments overseas. There's something called deferral. There's something called earning stripping. The president, when he was running for the presidency, talked about getting rid of them, but they're still there. Well, I've got a bill that's going to get rid of those and instead drastically lower the corporate tax rate. I'm a Democrat, right? What am I doing? I'm lowering corporate taxes? No, because the regular corporate tax rate, that's the one that all businesses, C corporations they call them, pay, and that needs to be competitive with the rest of the world, and right now it isn't. So these bigger companies, if you can get away with it, are using all these loopholes. Let's get rid of those loopholes and just lower the corporate tax. Seems a lot simpler. So we're working on that. I'm working on a lot of things involving just the district itself, particularly with transportation. We just secured money for a new bus depot in downtown Syracuse that will help rebuild downtown Syracuse and hopefully make buses something that people want to take to leave their cars at home by choice and not just because they have to or their car broke down or they can't afford a car. And we're working hard on intercity stuff, obviously high-speed rail, but in the short term we're trying to get more money to help build a better airport at Syracuse and maybe even attract a new low-cost carrier. So getting us connected with the rest of the world is very, very important for our economy.
We'll shift to the campaign. How do you separate yourself from your opponent, who is running, it appears, trying to take the conservative mantle of this year that's growing in popularity. How do you run against an opponent like that?
I mean, she's clearly very conservative. I mean, she's even called my predecessor, Congressman Walsh, not conservative enough. I mean, that was 20 years ago. But so clearly she will have that, conservative viewpoint. I'm trying to present what we've done and how we've continued to take on the challenges, even if they're very, very tough, even if there's a lot of disagreement. There's a lot of disagreement in healthcare. I realize that. But I do believe that people wanted to move forward and not just say no to everything and try to at least take on these issues instead of just kick them down the road to future generations. I haven't seen from my opponent, but frankly, I haven't seen from any of the opponents in these races upstate much in terms of what they would do. Just criticism of what we did. And, it's Theodore Roosevelt says once said it's not the critic who counts, it's the person in the arena. And, I think it's important. The good thing about our system is it does put pressure on people in office such as me, even people who haven't been in office very long, to really keep on moving. And we're trying to do that and not so much worry about the specific criticisms, but make sure that, we keep on tackling these problems, even if we, get people who call us up and yell and scream. I still think the vast majority of my constituents want to see action and want to see movement. And even if they know it's not going to be perfect, want to see us at least try to come up with solutions to a lot of these problems. Not give up on the economy. Maybe the recovery bill wasn't everything that it could have been, but it doesn't mean we're not going to try and keep trying until we get it right.
What have you learned from the past, your campaign in 2008, for example, to prepare you for this campaign?
Well, I think that the key thing I've learned is that this really isn't some sort of rocket science. This isn't a lot of people I think that someone running for office is all about promises and they don't deliver, and I can kind of understand that. I don't make a lot of specific promises because I don't know what the circumstances are going to be. But what I do promise is that I'm going to give this job everything I got. And I certainly have done that in the last couple of years. Travel back to the district every weekend. And every time I have an opportunity when I don't absolutely have to be in Washington to vote or represent the constituents that way. I try a whole lot of different things. If I come up with an idea and if it doesn't work, I'll try a different idea. A lot of constituents have come to me with various ideas that I've tried, including a lot of the stuff that goes into small business lending, because they saw how it was challenging to get businesses to lend with simply the things that we'd already done. And so, I think what maybe separates me from others is that tenacity that while I don't think I try to be open-minded, but I'm never going to give up. So I'm going to try various things, but I'm never going to give up. And particularly given where Central New York is, and we have so much potential, I think most of us realize that. But it's also, there are a lot of challenges, and we do have our weather, and we do have, really decades of losing manufacturing jobs and trying to figure out how to train people to do new things. So it's important that we not give up, and there's really no reason to. If you look at our future, I think it's very bright. But some things do take a little while to get through, and certainly this recession, which hasn't just affected us, it's affected the entire country, is one of those things where I do think you have to keep plugging away, and that's what we're doing every day. We're plugging away. Sometimes for individual constituents or individual businesses, we'll make calls or we'll try to make a connection. So that's what we do.